Hello. This is 52 Weeks of Design, and I'm Alexa Hampton, and sorry, I don't know why I started whispering. We're going to speak to Scot Meacham Wood. There. Hi, Kate. Hi, Scott.
Hey, Boo Bear. Let me fix my.
So, I
Let
have
me
to
fix.
tell you that I left my iPad in the city, so I'm on my phone, and I'm going blind. So, I apologize.
So I
How
can
are
I
you, my
can
love?
gesture inappropriately and you won't know the difference.
Oh, yeah. Though I can see the beautiful green behind you and your gorgeous face, though I can't see your calves, which makes me very sad.
Still there.
Yay!
Oh my God, I might need to go and
Right.
have like a back adjustment for that. I'm not nearly as bendy as I
Be
used to be.
careful. You be careful. Scott, with one T, I always like to talk about how people spell their names because I'm sure people spell your name wrong all the time, and it must drive you nuts.
It doesn't anymore because I'm like, no one's doing it maliciously.
Oh, yes, they are.
Well,
Oh,
maybe so.
yes. Oh, yes, they are.
When it got printed in a national magazine misspelled, I had to put my head down. That was a bad day.
Well,
Because
no,
I know,
no
because I'm
press
like,
is bad press, maybe?
pardon?
No press, bad press?
Well, and it was a lovely little write up. It was, a little something on the top of a page. And I'm like, I know the editor personally. Like, I know she can spell my name. Like, I know her. And I'm like, someone somewhere decided to fix it. I'm like,
Right.
and I can't
And
affect that.
Scott, you will not be fixed.
I will not be fixed.
You will not be fixed. So back to business. How did you
Yes.
first get into the see, there was something really interesting that you wrote in the questionnaire that you guys moved around too much when you were little.
So I'm an Air Force brat,
Which is kind of cool.
which is very cool. I was born in southern Canada, in Ottawa. Then we lived 4 years in Miami in two different houses. And then we moved to South Korea and then we moved
I
to
was about to
Japan.
say boo hoo.
I
Like
know.
we were in Miami, one house in the next. But okay, Korea, that's a jump.
Korea was a jump. Japan was a jump. Los Angeles was a jump. But the big jump was that my dad is from a small town, a small farming town in Mississippi. So he retired when I was in the fourth, into the summer between the fourth and fifth grade. And we moved to Mississippi. I moved from Los Angeles,
Now,
Mississippi.
do you have a bazillion siblings or he just retired early?
He retired early. He actually, well, let's just get into this. He actually was going to retire 4 years earlier, which would have put us there in 1970. But they were integrating the schools in my little hometown, and he's like, "Let's just stay in the military for 4 more years and let them sort that out, and then we'll move back. Let's get let's."
Hey.
He's like, I don't need my kids to be part of that. So
Okay. Yes, part of strife
of the
and
strife and
rest.
whatever
And it's
anger.
funny to think that how optimistic that he would think that the world would be settled in 4 years when
Well,
here
that's
we are.
here we are, 50 years later, still hashing stuff out.
Shit.
I was like, "What's our swearing quotient?" Like,
Big.
oh, excellent. We won't do any of the R-rated swearing, but we can do some PG-13 swearing. So I had so when I started the sixth grade, I had been, I think, in 7 different houses. So I have no.
And I mean, were you, when you were in Korea and Japan, were you attending a school? I mean, obviously it would have been an American school, but was it on a base?
It was,
Or
it was
was
the base. It was the base school.
Okay.
And I just remember, this is one of my favorite memories of my mom. Now that we can swear, I can talk about my mom. We got to the house, the on-base housing. It was like a little duplex. It was 2 bedrooms. It was tiny. It was cinder block. Like, it was just the saddest thing I've ever seen.
No wonder you're a designer.
Well, I walked through the house with my mom. I don't know where my brother and my father were. They were probably playing golf or doing something else. So we're walking through the house with me and mom, and I'm like, "Mother, what are we gonna do with this?" And she looked at me at like, 4 years old. She's like, we're going to decorate the living shit out of this.
She said that?
She did.
That is, I, hearts. Love, love, love.
That's my mom.
So you and she are not dissimilar animals.
Which I have not dissimilar animals. So we went antique shopping every weekend and bought
That's amazing.
throws and shawls and staple things to the wall. And one of the women that worked for us, as I guess she was kind of my mom's like the house staff. I never quite knew. They were just people who lived in the house with us. I don't even know. Who knows?
Ooh.
But she was a seamstress, and Mom could give her like a
Wouldn't
ad.
you love to have that skill?
There is. Okay, I'm gonna finish this one story. Then we're gonna do another one. Let me line them up now.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom would give her like a Dior ad from the Vogue.
Oh yeah.
And she would just make it. So my mom had these amazing like 1960s couture dresses made out of like crazy, like Korean jacquard prints. They were like orange and purple and burgundy.
So this is interesting too. It's interesting. I mean, it's all interesting, but presumably she's wearing these on the base.
On the base at the officers' wives meeting, getting ready for the Christmas bazaar.
So she's bringing fantasy to her life.
Oh, absolutely. And we had it was probably the best life I ever had with those 2 years in the Far East.
Because it was so foreign that you could be whoever you wanted. I mean, you were a child, you were a baby.
I was a child, but we lived on base. There was military police at the gate. Like nothing was really going to happen to us. I was the victim of a kidnapping scheme, but they didn't get off base with me.
Are you kidding me?
Because I was me, and I'm such an optimist. Like I just got in the car with the kidnappers.
What?
Oh my God, I was probably in the second grade.
What? I mean, I think we should just throw out any pretense of discussing decorating, because everything that around your life seems
I've had the weirdest life, which I adore. These two guys. So we live right next to the fence on the whatever side of the base we lived on. And there was this huge, some sort of big religious temple up on the hill. And you could see, everybody in their robes and all their gear, like going into service.
Ooh, the American base was that close to a religious temple?
Yes. Well, we're Americans. We tend to put ourselves wherever we want to. So these two guys came by and they're like, "Oh, do you want to go see the temple?" I'm like, "Absolutely." Then we'll get in the car. So I got in the car and they stopped us at the checkpoint getting off base, and they pulled me out and called my mother on me, who came to get me and was just apoplectic.
Okay, so I'm trying to imagine, like, when you get to the South, you are just maybe the weirdest person ever, right?
Yes.
But a fun weirdo.
I was a weirdo when I got to the South. I did not acclimate well at all.
Oh, and how long were you there?
Through college graduation. So I was there 6th grade through college. So
okay.
that's...
Oh, well, and yes, and we wrote that you are Southern to the core, but are you?
Well, so my dad grew up in this little town as a star football player. My mother was the homecoming queen of her small town in Alabama. Back when I used to drink, I had the thickest accent on earth, if I was drunk. But I don't have much of it. I mean, I can if I think about it.
I think anybody can say that when they're drunk they have an accent. I think we should call that an accent.
Well, then maybe so. I would hear it, like if I when I used to go back home when my parents were still alive. I would hear it all the time. I would hear myself like change gears and not be able to get out of it until I got back to San Francisco.
Yeah. Okay, so how'd you end up in San Francisco?
Oh my God. The worst thing about like a story is all my stories have like 7 chapters. So in the beginning, my
Wait, let me
friend,
check I will tell you oh my God, we're already 10 minutes in. I will tell you if I start having battery trouble because
okay, and
I'm buckling up here.
all right.
You
All
tell
right.
me.
So a friend of mine from college, whose name was Chuck Hawkins. I can't believe I pulled that out of my ass. Chuck and I were at the Pizza Hut after class one day, and he's like, "Do you want to like move to Colorado and be a ski lift attendant for like 6 months and just like take a break from all this nonsense?" And that struck my sense of adventure, my sense of travel, which we hadn't done in forever.
Mhm.
And so, I mean, that
Did you
day,
did you identify yourself as a traveler even though you had stayed put for a while?
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Um, and so I went back to my apartment that day and like called Breckenridge, got the newspaper, talked to the Chamber of Commerce. What day do I need to be there? And then I called my mother to tell her that after my 4.5 years of getting an education in tax accounting, that I was going to go be a ski lift attendant. So I got to Colorado, which was
Wait, what did she say?
she words I can't repeat. She was
pissed.
but she's pissed, but she's also like, oh my God, go live your life, like go do something crazy.
Oh, nice.
And when I got to Colorado to this it was in Breckenridge, if you know the ski resorts there, and
I'm sure it will not surprise you to hear that I am not an athlete. I've heard of Breckenridge, but all kinds of skiing things are just like a big rumor to me.
they are true, but they are hard.
Uh-huh.
I got to Breck and I realized that I was the only person from my high school class who was adventurous enough to move to like this ski resort in the Rockies.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I got there and every other single person from every other high school class in America was there. We were all there together. Yeah. And it was the most, like, nothing was too crazy.
It's like a self-selecting group of
adventurers.
Wanderers. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm in Breck and I love it there. And I was getting ready to open my own clothing store, which has nothing to do with anything. And I got hired by Ralph Lauren in Vail. I was replacing like a year and a half into being in Breck. And I was
do we call it Breck if we want to be cool? You obviously it's out of familiarity, but if I want to sound like I'm in the know, is that what I say?
Yes. It's like New York is the city, Breckenridge was Breck. Because there was like 7 ski resorts within a 30-minute drive. So okay. Breck was the one. Breckenridge, which what I loved about it is it was a city where they built a ski resort, as opposed to a ski resort where they built a city. Like it was the county seat, and I mean it actually was a city. Mm-hmm. I got hired to work in Vail at Ralph Lauren, and I was replacing somebody who was moving to Paris.
So you applied. You were like,
okay, I applied. I interviewed. I got hired. I got hired, and I was going to replace Craig when Craig moved to Paris, and then Craig never went to Paris.
God damn it, Craig. What the hell are you thinking?
What's wrong with you? You're ruining my life's adventure. So I was bitching about it to a friend of mine in Breckenridge at the mall. She's like, oh, I have a really good friend who works in San Francisco at the Polo Store. Do you want to work there? And so I'm like, give me his number. I called. I flew out.
So at this point, you want to be in fashion?
I wanted to be in fashion. I wanted to work for Ralph. I'd always loved. I mean, I think I did one of my very early, like creative speaking things about why you should wear Ralph Lauren, which is ridiculous to a room full of college kids who could give a shit about it. But I still got an A. She's like, I didn't know where that was going, but it went. She's like, but it was good.
It came back.
Yes. It was solid. So I flew, interviewed, got hired, flew back, packed the car, took 2 days, drove to California, and went to work. I mean, it all took place over there's a point in your life.
What was the job?
I was working on the men's sales floor.
Okay.
And I was very quickly made into like the licensee manager.
So, I mean, did you have a vision of where it was going, or did you just say, we're
going to do this? There she is. I thought we lost you.
No, I'm back.
I mean, it wasn't like I'm going to go work here. I'm going to work here for 15 years. I just went to work there because I wanted to. And it was an adventure. I hadn't moved in 18 months. So I just moved to California. Now, if I really had known that it was going to be almost 30 years in the Bay Area. I mean, it's always kind of worrisome when you make those decisions. There's a thing that happens. Well, there's a thing that happens when everything you own fits in your car. You're
impossible for a woman.
Okay. I mean, the TV, all the luggage. I had no furniture because I always lived in rented furnished apartments.
So you moved there. How'd you get to be head of licensing? And like, how long into your career there did that happen?
Oh, I was licensing manager. So let's not over glorify that.
Okay, so what does that mean?
So Ralph was very big into licensing. And so that was like sunglasses and.
I can't hear you all of a sudden. I can't hear you. Can anyone else hear him? I feel like I'm just in this great story and I can't hear. None of us can hear you. Should I? No kidding. I can read your lips. Seriously, isn't there a child somewhere near you could have fixed this? Okay, we're going to get off, but this isn't going to save. I'm going to have to save them both. Ugh. Damn it. Oh, no, I don't have to do that. I can just invite him back. Sorry, guys. He's just got so many stories to tell. I don't want to miss a single thing. Okay. Yes. Maybe this is my... Nope, that's comment. That's out. That's... Nope. Oh, guys, this is... Okay, here we go. Here we go. Scott. With one T, as discussed. Here we go, sending request. Sorry.
Connecting. Oh my God.
Yes. Okay, great. Phew.
No, that was a spam phone call that I'm trying to answer on my new phone that I didn't really know how to use.
Yeah, I have a new phone too, and I'm like, okay. So you were going to explain to me what a licensing manager meant at that moment in time.
So it just meant that I reordered all the men's socks. I reordered all the ladies' pantyhose. I reordered all the women's jewelry. I was in charge of stock levels at, what the hell was I, like 23 years old?
But you were weaving together all of these licenses.
Yes.
And you had some sort of purview about what was going to be in that store. I mean, he didn't have all of his licenses in one place, or he did?
He did not. So I worked with Hot Socks, who did and I would order men's dress socks. We need 24 black over the calf dress socks and I would every day check the sales reports and see, I learned how to run.
And there came your accounting degree, right?
There's my accounting degree, but it was a very tiny microscopic part of the store. But what I met were some amazing people who were in a division called Creative Services. And they did all the windows and dressed the mannequins and helped merchandise the store. And I remember my first employee review with our manager, Bob. And I'm like, I want to do that. He's like, well, I didn't hire you to do that. I hired you to sell. So you're going to sell for a while.
It sounds like Cruella.
No, he's like,
the movie. This your path. You have to say it. You love it.
So it was probably another 4 years before I got into creative. I remember a friend of mine who was in creative was being transferred to another store, and I'm like, I want your job. Who I gotta talk to get your job?
Who I gotta
talk to aggressively to get your job.
So at this point, you also though have a global sense of what this business is, what Ralph's business is,
what Ralph's business looks like, and how all the cogs fit together. I didn't have a real sense. So I think I had 2 or 3 weeks of vacation a year, whatever that number was. And I would often take an entire week off from selling on the men's floor. And I would freelance for the creative department as just kind of we always called me arms and legs. So it's like, wait, can you carry that? Can you move this? Can you staple the bed skirt on the bed? Can you hang the drapes? Can you clean? Can you vac? I would just be
that's so fabulous. I mean, it was your calling. You couldn't. You couldn't not do it.
And the theater of working behind those scenes at Ralph was so amazing because it was just.
What year are we at?
So I did creative from 1992 through 2001. So I'm trying to think what home collections were out.
Well, I mean, that's
are glory days.
Yeah, those are big years.
And then
Big years.
Ralph's vision got a little cleaner, a little less lots on lots on lots. And I was still what was derisively called old polo.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted layers. I wanted stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So
I do see his evolution into a cleaner look to be not, and I think maybe we could see this with contemporaries of ours as well as clients, that a lot of people as they age, I mean, not everybody, but some people divest
right
of clutter, detritus, whatever, visual detritus. Though of course to me it's all beautiful,
delicious.
But I do see that as a thing that you and I obviously do not.
I was
not have an issue
I was
with.
Vaccinated against that. I never got the clean modern stuff.
Yeah.
We would do, and it was fascinating. You do. You would drape off a window all in gray flannel and lay the gray carpet and dress the mannequin all in gray cashmere. And it was just her and some spotlights. And those windows took like 9 hours.
Right. And as you were saying, it was theater, but it was interior design. You were creating a moment.
And if you turn the mannequin like a quarter inch to the right, the light hit her body differently. And you do those giant home collection windows that are just like shoveled full of crap that I could do in 2 hours.
Because you felt it was in your blood.
Yeah, I can prop out a bookcase. I can prop a dining table.
Yeah.
And I can hang a gallery wall like nobody's business.
Yeah, totally.
That's in my skill.
I feel powerful in those terms too. So I don't know if I want to divert just yet, but in mentioning that you can do a tabletop, have you not a nice partnership right now?
We are working on it. We've got another conference call next week just to hammer out some detail.
Okay, so we won't talk about that.
It's a little preemptive.
Got it.
Because I don't
want to jinx anything.
Yeah.
So you're okay. So obviously your fashion, your sales, your business. Then you move to creative, and then this creative goes from fashion into Toto.
Right.
Everything. And at what point do you say, I gotta be doing rooms. I gotta do this myself. So, and why? What was the moment?
Strangely, there's an exact moment, because it was the morning of September the 11th.
You're kidding.
I was in bed in San Francisco. Of course, it's like 6 a.m. And there was all this discussion about whether we were going to open that day or whether we should just stay. Nobody knew what to do. And I remember so I called our operations manager. She's like, "We're going to open." I'm like, "Okay, I'll be there in 45 minutes. I need to take a shower and I'll just hop on the train." And I got to the shop and looked at the work that I did, which was beautiful. But I was like, is this what I want my life's journey to be? That I help create the best cruise windows on the corner of Post and Kearny in San Francisco, or do I want it to be more than that? That happened in the course of 24 hours.
Right. Yeah, it was a big reckoning.
It kind of was, and
not unlike COVID.
Not unlike what we've been through for the last 2 years, which I know has not been 2 years yet, but it's just easier to trying to figure out how many months it's been.
It's on the verge.
It's on the verge. So, I mean, the thing at Polo, which was great from an installation point of view, was if such and such didn't fit, we've got that. We'll put that there because nothing had any emotional value. And then I started working in homes where everything had emotional value. And I really liked that transition of making that kind of ass ugly table that belonged to your grandmother. We gotta make this work.
Yeah.
How can I play with the textile collection? how can we place things so you can see it, but it's not right in the middle of the room. And then for the
That's so interesting, because what you were doing before was creating meaning out of meaninglessness.
Out of meaningless stuff.
And now you're creating meaning with things invested with meaning.
Right.
Which is why your work is so beautiful.
Well, oh, that's very kind of you. So, that piece of artwork that they bought in Venice 20 years ago, we have to use this.
That you hate.
And I've used all kinds of stuff that I hate in rooms that were beautiful.
No, I mean, there is a point where you have to just say it's subjective.
And there's also
they love it.
There's also a point where this is not my house.
Yeah. Totally.
I'm going to photograph this, and I will move that piece of crap artwork out of the picture. I don't care.
Do you?
Yes. I never let clients be home when we photograph, and I stage.
But don't they notice that everything? Okay, interesting.
Or we at least crop it out, we'll shoot over here.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get in the car and drive away, and my clients get to live there, and they should live in a beautiful version of their dream of their house.
I totally agree. I agree 100,000,000%.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful story. I feel like your teacher. We're didn't know where we were going there, and then crisis, and you say, I need all these things that I love, but I need the meaning.
Right. And if it doesn't have a meaning to me, it has to have a meaning to somebody.
Yeah.
And if you can explain that to me and tell me why, and tell me about your trip, and tell me about when you were in Venice and where you found this and which little alleyway you went down. And I love that things have emotional meaning that I don't have to create.
Totally.
Yeah.
Because and that is, I always believe, the hazard with a show house. So everyone thinks show houses are so easy. And I mean, to an extent they are. But you always have to pull back at some point and say, where's the soul? Right. Because you don't have the client, and you don't have the stories and the things that bring the magic sometimes.
Right. And you can do that. Sometimes you can do that with furniture layout. I mean, if I love creating a very symmetrical room and then screwing it up.
Yeah. I totally agree. And there are pockets of asymmetry that just feel symmetrical, or
right.
they're creating some kind of balance.
I mean, in my world, the furniture goes where it goes. Mm-hmm. The big sofa goes on the big wall. It goes. Yeah. It needs to go where it needs.
There is logic. You're not messing it up just for the sake of messing it.
Rooms with furniture that's been weirdly placed is one of my pet peeves.
Me too.
Weird stuff on an angle drives me crazy.
Me too.
Including fireplaces, which just I mean, but
what the hell is that?
Well,
how do you feel about corner vitrines?
Oh my God!
Stop! Make it stop!
You just stop that nonsense.
Take that vitrine and get out of here.
Where are the movers? Get them back in here. We're taking that out. I remember I was working on a huge project in Atherton, which is a beautiful city just south of San Francisco, a residential, a bedroom community. And we were working on the house, and every time I could find something I didn't know what to do with, I'm like, well, let's just pop that in the pool house, and we'll deal with that later. And we got all finished with the main house. She's like, oh God, we have all this stuff in the pool house we should work with. And so every piece of debris, the debris trail from behind the Titanic, was in that pool house. And I had to make a room out of it. So.
But at least it was one. It was a contained room.
It was a contained room. It's a pool house. No one's gonna come out here. Oh my God, I've worked with such fun people.
Do you have a favorite job, or is it your place? I always answer that it's my place because it is the most meaningful to us. But have you had a project that you've loved the best, or is it always the one you're working on?
We did a project in Colorado, maybe 4 years ago, for some really good clients. Mm-hmm. It's really adventurous.
There you are, back in Colorado.
Staying in Vail. I finally got to work in Vail. Pardon? They were really fun.
Sorry, I know. Sorry, the child one.
They were fun, and they were not opposed to spending the money we needed to spend, and had the money that we needed to spend. and they were so sweet and so kind and so thankful. Um, it was a good fit.
Yeah.
So that's probably.
And all designers, contrary to what may be believed, are all people pleasers.
Oh my
And they
God,
gotta be
yes.
creatives, all creatives. It's a yeah, like
For sure.
actors want to please the audience, we want to please our homeowners, and so on and so on.
Right. And fashion designers want to do an amazing runway show, and whether that runway show turns into commerce or not is not always a linear.
Right. So I talk a lot, and since you have licenses of your own, I
Yes.
would like to ask you this. Um, I think people think that licenses are going to make them, like that's going to be the thing. And really, it's your day job that's the thing. It's always
Right.
the day job. Decorating is how we pay our bills. But I, one does think about what is our perfume. You do the runway shows to sell
Right.
the perfume,
Right.
and we do our work. At least the goal is one day to find that thing. And that thing right now, you have fabrics
Yes.
that you can
Fabrics.
talk about that
Fabrics.
are beautiful. And you know what, like your timing is perfect too, because um there was that moment there of beige mageddon, and we all were desperate for pattern and nostalgia and culture and history, and boom, you were there to serve it up.
Well, we did a big project kind of in the midst of the Grand Mageddon. It spanned from like taupe to dove. That was our swath of palette. And I'm just like,
Maniacally varied.
I'm just like, we're going to make this amazing. I'm going to take
Yeah.
this tiny little palette, which is all they're comfortable with, and how far can I push them? We bought some amazing antiques. So there was we gave the house some soul, despite the fact that it was not super fussy.
Yeah.
And then I had a bunch of pillows made, and we did the photo shoot with all of my pillows. I took them back
Yeah.
and sold them at the shop.
So what's the shop? Tell me about the shop.
The shop was in San Francisco, and it has, for the moment, just had to
Yeah, of course.
go.
Did you find, well, since your background is in retail, I find the notion of an actual shop interesting, but really terrifying.
It was a great way. Like, no one sells my fabric like me.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had questions, I had answers, because I had designed this. I knew what fabric it was printed on. I knew what else we could do with it. I knew what else we could print it on. There's no one that's going to be able to know that. We actually started a small capsule furniture collection, maybe like a dozen pieces, that we produced out of Los Angeles.
Which is great, because then you've prototyped it and you know what works and what doesn't.
Right,
and,
right.
Yeah.
And they were such an easy company to work with. But it also meant that I could now show my fabrics on pieces of furniture,
Mm-hmm.
which helped to sell the fabrics. And we actually sold, we sold 20 or 30 pieces of furniture over those probably a year and a half that it was on the floor.
Yeah. Nothing.
Yeah, no, nothing. So you just, I always wanted to have a fabric collection. Always.
Mm-hmm.
Always. It was just an obsession of mine. And I very early on tried to decide if it was ambition, because I wanted to have it, or if it was being competitive, because someone else got a fabric line,
Right.
and I should have one.
Or was it your lizard brain telling you, as a graduate of the Ralph Lauren school, that success equals,
More is
when
more.
you grow up, you must, expand your footprint.
Right, and Ralph was always doing that. We were launching new collections, and then we had lighting, and then we had tabletop, and then we had flatware, and then we had bridal registry,
Right.
and then we had ceiling fixtures and hard install fixtures, not just table lamps. But I was there from when we had like wicker furniture. That's how long I was.
So what did you conclude about the impetus behind it?
Honestly, I think it's a mix. I am very competitive, but it's not like I've just chosen a nemesis who I've got to defeat.
Yeah.
I do have
Sometimes
a nemesis.
it's oneself.
I have a nemesis whose name I will not say out loud. And she's lovely. And it's not you. This is all an elaborate scheme to get you on camera and just charge you with crimes against design. So yeah,
it's a bunch of unnameable impulses.
It is.
And it definitely starts with your mother in Korea making the Dior dresses.
We're gonna decorate the shit out of this stuff with stuff that I design.
Yeah. Behind you, is that a mirror or is that a picture of books?
That is a mirror that's a big bookcase that sits in here. We have bookcases in every room in this house.
Yeah, I do feel like that. I mean, along with dimmers, which is maybe the thing that everybody answers to, what can't you live without?
Right.
No room is complete without.
Dimmers.
It's books, art, dimmers.
Flowers.
Oh yeah, you said flowers.
Flowers.
Yeah, I can live without flowers. I'm terrible. So
I'm also not opposed to a fake flower. I am not snotty about.
I'm at my mother's house, and it's not Edie Beale, but there's plenty of fake flora. But like, just the view behind you is so evocative and so beautiful, and that green is so wild and wonderful. Do you use your house like a lab?
I use my house as something to do for the first year that I lived here. So it was very.
And you moved in the middle of COVID.
We moved into this apartment on April the 1st of last year.
And April was the deadliest month.
Yes. And I got in the house. I gave us 3 months to unpack. And I would unpack like 5 boxes a day and take the boxes down to recycling and slowly carve, what had been like a goat path was like a cow path, was like a person path. It was like, oh my God, we did something. I forgot, we got something finally unpacked. I'm like, oh my God, there's a window over there. Like, I forgot. Like, when the hell was there a window in Drew's closet? Okay, I guess there's a window in there. So it was just something that I could affect. And from 1,000 years of being at Ralph, where I would have to build sets and stucco sets and paint sets, and we did a lot of the production work ourselves. I love some production work. Yeah. So.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can call it production work, but yeah, it's.
But it's my house. It wasn't right. So I'm I've got 4 months. Let me upholster the walls in the bedroom.
What are the colors in your house? What did you use?
We are the 6-pack of Crayola. So bright green, bright yellow, bright blue, a little bit of bright red, black, navy, and white.
So kind of all the constituents of a plaid you might use.
There's a plaid sofa in the other room that we made for the showroom. That's going to die one of these days because it was never built to have 2 6'2" men sit on it for 10 hours a day, watching television. I'm like, just put it on there. I don't care how, it doesn't need to really work. So we've been sitting on that sofa, and I sat down to that. I'm like, is there any foam left in this thing? Is it just? Yeah.
Good luck.
I know. Let me try to find some now.
Which is interesting. So, are you a down wrap foam? Are you a foam insert? Are you 100% down? I mean, everybody is so different with their pillow stuffing.
I'm a tufted, so I circumvent all of that.
Okay, but crumbs become an issue.
Yes, and I have lots of little attachments to the vacuum, and we just, root all that out.
And are they biscuit tufted or with buttons?
Buttons.
Of course.
Like a 4 or 5 inch depth button. And it's one of the pieces of furniture for my collection. So it's one of my favorites.
I love that Arabelle Pillowmaker just went, foam, no! I'm with you. Yeah, the only bad thing I know about down is the fluffing. But yes, I'm with you, tufting. When you are working with clients and you've done your furniture plan and it's been very symmetrical, and then you mess a few things up to give it character and difference, and so it's not like it was spat out by a computer, what's your process then?
Usually long before it gets approved by the client. It is part of the furniture plan that it's going to be strange. So it doesn't.
Yeah.
But I also tell clients, I'm like, the day your furniture arrives, like all bets are off.
How do you present them the fabric schemes? What's your process there?
We used to do boards. I hate boards.
I hate boards. I hate boards. I mean, they're useful, but they embarrass me. They make me feel like it's a student. You know.
I mean, I might do a board for a
High school project.
completed design concept, but I bring a bag of fabric.
Me too.
We spread it all out on the floor, and I'm like, show me one you love, and we start a stack. I'm like, show me one you hate, and we put one back in the bag, and we just go through piece by piece, and oh, you love this, but that's probably just going to be a pillow, or you love, like, oh my God, it's a giant Brunswick toile. Like, why don't we cover this sofa in that? That'd be crazy. So it's taking the things that they love and then allocating them to their best use, and then I fill in the holes. Like we've got a lot of stripes and no florals, or a lot of small florals and no like. There's that kind of algorithm of how it all.
And where you get to good. So I frequently struggle with the whole notion of how much fabric to bring and to do that litmus test is too much. Like, do they think I'm unprofessional because I'm asking all of this stuff, or do they expect me to show 3 separate options before I've had that I do find that conversation is totally critical. But then at some point, you got to let us do our job.
Well, I mean, the question I often ask clients on that day is like, is your brain full? Like, are you done? Because this is a lot. This is a lot for me to look at, and I've been looking at it for 2 weeks now. So if your brain gets full, just raise your hand, and we'll either go get a cup of tea, or we can take a break from this. I said, nothing we're doing. The analogy I always use is pie, because making pie crust is science. It's architecture. It's math. It's got to be balanced. It's got to be exactly right, down to the milligram. When we start making filling, like, we were gonna make blueberry pie, and we got to the market that morning, and there were amazing strawberries. So we made strawberry pie. Like, it's still pie, it's still dessert, it's still gonna be delicious. If you've been hankering for blueberry pie for the last 6 years, we'll work with something.
Yeah.
But I feel like so many times I open up this whole world to my clients of what we could do, and then say, except we're going to do this, and this is the only thing we can do, and let this fabrics change, and new things come along, and they're 12, 18, 24-month projects. Like, there's stuff that none of us have seen yet that's going to be perfect for your living room.
What about freshness going to the market? Yeah. Everybody loves this analogy. I love this. It's great analogy. I mean, you're obviously one of the most fun people. You're hilarious. You have
dancing as fast as I can.
Craziest stories. Do you always have fun on your jobs? I mean, your clients must adore you.
I am very honest with my clients. I think I just got a text that I just got hired for a project in Massachusetts.
Yay!
Honestly, like it just covered up your face and then went away. I'm like, oh my God. Okay. So
it was a win-win for a minute.
Let me put my head through my knees for a second. Oh my God, that's so exciting. What I need to be with my clients is honest about what they asked for, what to expect, because we had actually on the Gray and Taupe house, we would make all these decisions, and I invoice things with an enormous amount of detail on the paperwork. And then I would order that thing, and it was, at that point, was static. And the clients would still continue to kind of circle, like, oh, maybe we should do this. And then when they get the thing that we ordered, they felt like it was wrong. But I just learned that was their reaction to things. And so I would just, the day before the furniture arrived, we'd spread everything back out again. This is what's coming tomorrow. This is going to go here. This is going to go there. I'm like, I will just manage around your crazy.
Yeah.
And I mean, we did 4 houses for them over like 20 years. So it's
You just learned their foibles and worked with it.
right. And I'm sure they learned mine.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a very interesting moment you're describing.
have you had that?
I mean, of
Can you,
course.
yeah.
And I think one of the hardest things for people in our business to do is to find, here comes the dog, to
Hey, Percy
find
Monster.
the right, oh, and a child, to find the right tone, a
Yes.
respectful tone. And it's hard to strike, to explain that, that is what was ordered.
That's what we ordered.
Because you don't want to seem adversarial.
No.
I mean, I don't want to seem adversary. I don't want to be anybody's adversary. I want to just, you want to acknowledge that it is ordered, but that the day is not done. If this is something you don't like, let's problem solve.
Well, and the other thing, I'm very analogy oriented. It's how my brain works. But I will tell every client, other than burning your house down, there's nothing I'm going to do that I can't fix, or that we can't fix. Like if you don't like this.
So I think we already established that you cannot be fixed.
Yeah, I can't. I can't even be kidnapped well.
Yeah, but I think one of the biggest mistakes decorators can make, or designers, people in service businesses, is to, well, first, I think when there is a mistake, you have to say so.
Right.
Because if you don't, there goes the relationship. You've lost trust. Now they think you're telling them that they're the emperor and you're telling them you love the new clothes and they're naked. Right. Speaking of analogies. And once you establish trust and that anything will be fixed, as you just said, then you can have fun and you can enjoy each other.
Right, right.
Because you're on the same side.
As long as we're all building the same house, and sometimes we're not, and you discover that 6 months in, like, oh, this thing I thought you said is not what you meant.
Right. Well, and sometimes all of us think we want something and then learn over time, like, oh, no, I don't want that.
Right. But you have to, I think as designers, we can extrapolate a year into the future and say, that's going to look weird. Mm-hmm. But sometimes for clients, until they see it in the space looking weird, it's hard for them to understand what the corner they have painted us into.
Yeah. No pun intended.
No.
It's such an interesting and rich career.
It really is. And now I'm kind of a step not removed from it. But I mean, the last 2 years, I've really only been designing fabrics because I moved and I moved, and then there was a global pandemic, and
and apparently you upholstered your own walls.
I upholstered my own. It took me 4 months.
I mean, I wouldn't know where to start.
You moved the furniture out of the way.
Okay, I know where to start, and that would be it.
Just move. I just took each of the 4 corners of the bedroom, and I would just move everything out of the way, and get the ladder and get the staple gun, and just ka-chunk, 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 ka-chunk. Yeah. And luckily, it's all done in gingham, so it has built-in registration lines because it's gingham.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like it was
really, really perilous though if you stretch it wrong. You really got your work cut out for you when you chose it.
No,
you're a can't-do guy. So what did the 2 years of designing fabric, like, was it a palette cleanser? Like what, and moving cities, how did that affect your creativity, and where are you at right now?
I'm in a really good place right now. We just launched a new collection over the summer, or spring. I don't know when the hell it was. And we did a really big collection this spring. We did kind of a small capsule collection last spring. The one last spring, which is still very dear to me, was all kind of not. I don't want to use the word ladylike because I don't want it to feel like it's sexist. But like Bargello patterns and cross stitch patterns, very kind of 1850s in America, and we're just gonna sit in our houses and make art every night with a needle and thread. So that was a big part of last year's, and the one we did this year was we took some of our kind of existing patterns and recolored everything in navy and white. So
So fun.
big crazy botanicals that are all greens and
Yeah, yeah,
browns and
yeah,
olives. Another navy and white. Big
yeah.
florals that were peach and lavender and green. We just did again on
I
navy and
think, and
white.
I think when I look at the yeah, that would be 30 SKUs for spring.
Thank you, Joseph.
When I look at fabric houses that do what you're describing, it is very energizing. It's very exciting to see that thing that you love reinvented just
And,
through color.
and it's, we did a couple of patterns that were based on my mother's antique china
Mm-hmm.
that I wrapped in 18 gallons of bubble wrap and brought here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There were some fabrics that we discovered, things that she and I bought together in Korea at the market. And so we created a whole new toile by taking a couple different motifs out of a couple different pieces of her fabric. One of her favorite dresses we made into a floral.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
lovely.
it's
It keeps
just
going
very
back to
sweet.
you working with meaning. You're doing what you love, but you're weaving literally meaning into it. Oh, I'm just punning out over here. What does your husband do?
He is in fashion.
So
There's
that's a lovely symbiotic relationship. Do you invite his opinion on what you do?
yes,
Because I'm not sure husbands should ever have their opinion solicited.
I will invite his opinion. He is a very minority voter in all of
Yeah,
this.
yeah, good.
But I also know, oh my God, I wanted to put like at least a half canopy over the bed.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked at me, he's like, absolutely not. I'm like, absolutely not? Like, oh
Yeah,
my
my
God.
husband tried that and he got a full canopy.
Right.
But I mean, like, you couldn't show him some David Hicks canopies and be like, dude, this, you can still have a great, no,
No.
he wasn't having it.
And I'm like, and the other thing that he really doesn't like, he doesn't like the upheaval that's involved. And
So this past year was horrible for him.
oh my God, if he left for more than like 72 hours, I would repaint a room. Like I knew if he was going to be gone, I was just like, okay, I've got 3 days to repaint. I painted this green room in 3 days, painted all the bookcases.
What is that green? It is amazing.
It is Benjamin Moore. I believe it's called Clover.
It's fabulous. I'm
It
totally
photographs a little more neon than it actually is in person.
It looks gorgeous.
Thank you.
Really gorgeous.
Yeah.
Do you take your experiences with Drew and like, does it give you, I sometimes, I don't know, I got my hands on Pavlos young enough that, I really infected him with my design beliefs. But it does tell you something when you're working with couples or with, thruples, how to navigate those relationships. I think that's very important too, to take into obviously to consideration both. There's
Right.
usually a leader, but I do hate it when the sister-in-law comes in.
Yeah, if you don't live there, I don't care.
Yeah, you should shut up.
Yeah, shut up.
Shut your mouth.
Don't make me have to pop you. Shut up.
Don't make me put you in a car with two men off of the day.
Do you want to go see the temple? There's 2 men up front. They'll take you. Just get in the car. Get in the back.
How many of the people that you work for have ended up as lifelong friends?
Oh, most of them.
Yeah.
There was a point about 5 years ago when I realized I had not interviewed for a project in like a decade because everyone I worked with was like
business.
Was third house, fourth house.
Yeah.
I'm on a 5th house right now for clients in San Francisco. I'm on a 4th house for a client in San Francisco, and I'm on a kind of revolving, like it's the same house.
Yeah.
But we're like, let's change this room. Like I think
they're enthusiasts.
They're enthusiasts, and I've known them since like 1988. They were family, used to shop at Ralph Lauren when I was there. But we're having the worst trouble because everything we were trying to get made has foam in it.
Yeah.
It's I'm
Damn
sorry.
you, Texas freeze.
Um,
Yes, they love you, says everybody.
Some days.
Who couldn't?
My honesty gets in the way. Not gets in the way, but if that's not what you've said that you wanted, or that's not what you told the contractor, or not what you told the architect, like I'm on I'm on the side of truth, not to be all, hoity about it.
Truthy.
I'm the truthy one. Like, no, that's not what you. But that's, and I think that's a fine idea. We on the house and the gray and taupe house, we would have like a weekly meeting where it was me and both the homeowners and the on-site, the architect, the on-site general contractor, the actual general contractor, and I mean that's not what you said last week. You asked him to do this, and now he's done it. And then we can still it's just ink and paper. Like we can move it all around. But I'm like, that's not what you said you wanted. So let's at least, and I would get just icy looks. I'm like, oh, but it's not what you said you wanted.
Yeah. Oh, I'm enjoying it. Though I do think it's easier to advocate for somebody else.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I don't revel in being the bad cop.
Of course.
But if we need a bad cop, I will be really good at it.
You'll leap into the fray with your shapely calves.
When I was working in Colorado, I ran a chain of t-shirt shops because why the hell not? And part of my job was I got to fire people.
Oof.
Like, yeah, you're gone. Get your stuff. Get out.
That's interesting. Arabelle, again, who is great at participating in these conversations, she said, as a man, you can do that. For women, it's tricky. And again, I'm sure Arabelle doesn't want to be sexist either or chauvinist. But her opinion is certainly something that I think generationally it's getting, we're on the tail end of the generation that might have had trouble with it.
I met a friend of mine, a fellow designer, down at Ralph's Coffee on 72nd Street. Uh-huh. And she walked up.
What's it with you and Ralph's?
It's just, it's about a mile and a half from my apartment. So it's a nice walk. Is that the same one? Is he just walking around in circles?
No, that's the other one.
Well, they're twins. But she said something about, oh my God, how'd you get a table? I'm like, I am 6'2" and 220. I can loom like nobody's business.
It's not true. You're not a loomer.
But I have to, because someone asked me if I had been afraid living in Harlem. Like, no one's gonna mess with me. I'm a big guy. Like, now if you poke me,
who said that?
Oh, several people. But I'm like, if you poke me, I will just crumple to the floor like a cheap suit, like I'm useless. But I can look imposing if I need to. And I know that. And I don't play on that often, but I know that's an advantage that I have if I need it.
As a woman of some size, I enjoy wearing high heels on a job site and physically dominating the room. I'm not gonna lie.
Big hair, big lips, high heels.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I stomp in like Jurassic Park. People, I also have a very heavy tread. Yeah. The water shakes on the table.
Oh my God, it's Alexa. Everybody get everything cleaned up.
Like, ah!
That can be our freeze frame. Totally. For the thumbnail. It's you and I.
I won't pick that. Okay, so I don't even know how to sum up this conversation because it's been so all over the map. But I have to tell you that I would love to hire you just because I know I would have the best time of my life. You are so much fun, and you've just got that bag of tricks that you carry.
And we get to make magic that then people get to live in.
Mm-hmm. Are you committed to making it fun?
Yes.
I think that's the secret to success.
Part of
if you make it fun.
This is going to turn dark for a second.
Oh no, not again.
Just a little bit. We had a somewhat contentious upbringing inside my own family unit.
Sure.
And my job is to be funny.
Oh, well.
So that's
hello. Nice to meet you.
My job was to make things funny.
Yeah.
Someone should see me at the SFTC. Yes, very imposing.
Dignified, maybe. Fabulous.
Even in my track shorts.
Clark Gable. You're not imposing. I refuse. Anyway, Scott, You're amazing. Where
Thank you.
can people find your fabrics? Who can just by looking past your head at that green room? Well, people should go to your website.
You've got the website.
And they can get your fabrics where?
Here in the tri-state area, we're represented by Summersell.
Yes, of course.
And we are represented in Dallas and kind of the southern Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, by Alan Knight, who's based on Turtle Creek. And you can always reach out.
And if people just want to,
I'll talk.
So, so they can just reach out to you on the website and
on the website or through. We do a decent amount of business over Instagram.
And when will you be announcing new things?
We have a new wallpaper collection. I
didn't expect you to actually announce it.
Well, it's coming fall. I haven't even seen a strike off the mail being created.
Fall.
And then we're going to work on a new fabric collection. Which I know. I wanted to launch in October, but who the hell knows? And then I have a whole photo file of fabric ideas for next year, for 2022.
And I know we got to go. I know it's over, but how long does it take you to develop your fabric collections?
When I had nothing else going on, 6 months.
If somebody wanted to reach out to you and customize one of your fabrics, is it doable?
Yeah, we do. We do all the linens and cottons are digital prints.
You what?
Sure. All the linens and cottons are digital prints, so that's just some keystrokes on a computer. That's easy. And then the tartans we do in Scotland. We've done custom versions of those. I designed, I think, a dozen tartans when we first opened. So some of them are actually some original artwork of mine, based on.
Joseph wants everyone to see that it's actually 18 months. He doesn't want to spoil anyone with outsized expectations.
I'd love to overpromise. It keeps my heart going.
I do not believe that of you because you are such a transparent person. Yes. Anyway. Okay. So as you know, in case anybody else doesn't know, I'm a huge fan of Scot's work. I called him during the pandemic and asked for samples because I'd seen something. I have like a bright yellow plaid on my dining room table right now that I'm flirting with.
I know which one that is.
It's so
Meacham.
great to talk to you, and you're so much fun. And I think like anybody who is as joyful and loving and fun as you, it's so much more fun to use your stuff.
Oh, thank you. That's so kind of you.
Because you're sparking joy.
I have been purposely avoiding you for the last 3 or 4 weeks, just so that we didn't have some conversation that we need to try to.
You thought we'd peter out.
I thought we're never going to run out of stuff. But I'm like, let me just I can text with Alexa, but I'm not going to get, But we need to get together and have coffee again soon.
Yeah, and as with many of these like free ranging convos, there we could have a part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5. Anyway, thank you so much. And I'm gonna go pick up my daughter at the beach, and I'm gonna plug in my phone. And I sort of can, even though I can't really see you, I see the green.
Yes.
Love you.
Love you too, doll.
Kisses.
Mwah.